Hey guys, welcome. I'm Mr. Steve, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to create a proxy instance using geometry nodes and the isViewport node. After that, the second part of this tutorial is going to be based on the OCP or one-click proxy add-on. I hope you'll stick around for it, and if you haven't picked up the add-on, there is a trial version. You can go snag that today. It's on Blender Market. I'll put a link in the comments. Let's get started. All right, we're starting out with a fresh copy of Blender. I'm just going to get rid of all of this, and I'm going to get a mesh object that's going to easily show the proxy instance. So what we want to do is open up, and I like a vertical split. It really helps me to do this more like coding, if you will, instead of a linear fashion. I like to kind of wrap my nodes around. So just click New. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drop in a switch node. And this is going to allow us to switch geometry. And then we can go ahead and put in a convex hull. And if you prefer, you can drop in the bounding box as well. We'll do both. Grab the original geometry, let's tag that in, and let's then tag this into the true on the switch. Now what's going to control the switch? That's going to be important. Let's grab the isViewport node and drop that in. Now we need to have something control that, because this is not going to work for that. It's just going to say it's always in the viewport, but we want some control over it. It'll still work that way, but it's not the way you want it. So let's type in BOL and then just put an M, whatever spelling that gets you Boolean math. Now we could tag this in. We'll now control that with AND logic. We'll say it's viewport and this right here, but let's pull up the modifier panel. You'll see this active object and its modifier geometry node right here. And let's just output this. So now we're going to have this option to switch. And then of course you could add extra switches, or you can throw in the bounding box, whatever makes sense to you. And this is the basic setup. No, you cannot turn this into a tool inside of here, because it's a permanent action when it's a tool, and it's a destructive action by nature. So this does not make a very good tool. This needs to be a geometry node. Hence the reason I turned it into an actual add-on. All right, now I'll just show you the final thing for this quick example and keep it short and sweet. I am in the proxy state here. We'll go ahead and we will render this, and I'll show you why it's so important and so powerful. So we go ahead and render this image out. We do not get the proxy. We get the actual Suzanne, the actual object that we had. Now, if you do have a material on this, you're going to find that it's not going to transfer over. You're going to have to play around and do a set material, but I've actually got code built in to the add-on. So if we come over here and delete this, and instead we'll go over to engine, let's put a new material, make it look somewhat decent. That looks good. I always like the auto smooth. And now this will render out anything, let's see, over the 500 face count. That should work. Was selected, and now it transfers that material to the proxy, which is really cool. So now if we render this, we'll get this set up. And you see the auto smooth did not transfer over, but if you want that auto smooth to be on there, you can tick it on right here. And now let's go ahead and re-render that. And what happens is we've got our auto smooth. So I've got that built into the add-on. There's a ton more built in. So I hope you guys stick around and check out this tutorial. It's going to be something like 10 minutes or so, but it's valuable, got good information. It'll help you understand this add-on in its entirety. Thank you for watching, and see you on the other side. What's up, everybody? Mr. Steve back. And I tried to do a couple of lives earlier, and they were not very successful. The first one was my bad. I didn't have the audio. But the second one, I had my fans on my PC were just going absolutely wild, and Blender was locking up for no good reason. So what I was doing is I was describing the OCP add-on and what it does, and there's no lag in the video. This is lag in the viewport. And so OCP is going to give you an option. You can say, hey, for selected objects, which can be anything over here, any selection you have, doesn't matter. And anything that's over the face count of 1000, which is the default. And all of these have 3 subdivisions on them. Every single one of these Suzannes has 3 subdivisions and an applied modifier. Now, what we would do is just click OCP. This button will turn blue, but when it goes gray, you know it's done. And obviously, you'll see the bounding box in the viewport. And now look at that responsiveness. That's nice. So now that you can do that, it really makes things a lot easier. And what you can do at this point, and I'll throw a camera in to kind of get ready because I'm not going to render this right now. I've got to do a few scene setup things. But ultimately, I can now function in the viewport, and whatever my camera's doing there, let's get that out of the way. And this is Blender 4.3, so you know you're in the latest and greatest. And this will work all the way back by Blender 3.3 to 4.3. And the reason for that, it can't go any earlier because it's using the isViewport logic, which is evaluating the mesh in the viewport. And for the render, it does not show up. And that's a super cool thing. So one quick second, let's just select all, and you don't get any errors or any duplicate modifiers. Still the same settings. Now I just say, hey, I want to go ahead and select all of these and just wait a second or two. It may take a while. In fact, it depends on your system, your PC. So now let's hit A for all. We're down to 36,000 faces from over 24 million. That's really good. View here, let's see what that's going to look like. Perfectly fine. And I'm not rendering the stuff that's outside in the actual image, but I'm still rendering it. So that's good to have that set as a proxy. And I'll go ahead and click render. Now we'll see what this ends up looking like. It should be good. And another companion to this is going to be using render switch, which is a really good add-on. It prevents crashes during and after renders. All right, so that took a very long time to render that out, but it did nicely. And as you can see, none of those proxies showed up at all in the render, which is the idea. So we went from this to this. Very good. Those are the expected results. And I think that once you've used this add-on a couple times, you'll get pretty used to it. Just understand there are 3 sections to this add-on specifically. And what you'll have will be the section for just setting the proxy and the face count, stuff like that. So that's proxy initial control. And go to EV Engine, and then we can add a basic material here. And I was curious, actually, just before I do that, I wonder where the material add-on is. There's a Blender Vanilla add-on. Let me see if it came with 4.3. Let's call it material importer material library. I think that's the one. So we'll install that. And now a material library will show up here. That's super cool. Totally forgot about that. It's always got to be one nugget in every tutorial, hopefully, right? So you can get something. We got car paint here. We can throw that on. It's got a facade in there too. Really cool. You can make some very quick, cheap buildings in the background. So we'll apply this to the selected mesh. And now we've got this car paint. Actually not a bad looking material at all. I kind of like that. But the idea behind this is that inside of the add-on, we go in. Let's check OCP. I'm in the extension side, so it won't work. I'll have to go to the add-on side and type in OCP, because that's where you can get the user controls. You'll have 2 things here. One is the Alt-N menu, which, if you remember correctly, it will add the label. Of course, that was in the live. I said that, so you may not see that because I got rid of that live because it got all choppy. So if we OCP this object and press Alt-N, we'll get a name above it, and that gets really useful when you're trying to see what your mesh is with a proxy on it. And if by chance this doesn't have it on there and you press Alt-N, it's not going to show a name for that object. So it just uses the least amount of memory as possible. Then the add material on selected proxy or instance is here. That's checked on. That's why this proxy is showing a different color now. If we turn this off and delete it, grab these and OCP them, you won't get a material transfer. And so if we actually go into the render for this, get a camera, and let's just render these two out. This shouldn't take too long, hopefully, just so we can see it. All right, so there we go. And we have no materials on there right now. But if we go back over to this portion and let's grab these proxies and I'll delete them and we'll go ahead and turn on the material adder, and then we'll go back to we'll OCP them and then go back to render. For basic materials and like most materials, at least in the first material slot, you will get your materials so you can see it and demo it. It's not designed to do a perfect UV transfer on the materials and all that. This is designed to help you quickly prototype your scene and say, yes, this is what I like, and I've got this set up now. So there you go. That's the basic setup for this. There's some little toys down here. You can scale these objects if they're kind of in the way. And the best option is going to be grabbing your objects and you'll select whatever object you want to be a custom proxy. You just click that. It automatically loads for you. You don't really have to do anything else. Now you can turn this on and off. You may have to click it a couple times to get Blender's UI to respond. It's just kind of how Blender is with update properties on some things. But yeah, that's about it. I appreciate everybody watching. If you want to grab this add-on, go get it. It's on Blender Market. It's on Gumroad. Support the channel with a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video tutorial. And I will be doing more lives, even though they were treacherous today, and I'm pretty sure somehow I got hacked. But y'all have a blessed one.